Hello, my friends. Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for being here. Today, let's talk about overthinking, overanalyzing, overcomplicating. If you can relate to this, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up right now. I talk about this concept a lot. It's trickled all over my channel in lots of my videos. But today, I'm simply here to remind you and your brain to chill the F out. Let go and let God. Our brains are like toddlers. That is how I want you to think of your brain. It's a toddler, wild and unhinged. So if we don't watch our brains carefully and monitor its moves, it'll run around and cause a whole lot of ruckus because its default settings are fear, worry, scarcity, and doubt. And so it's these default settings that signal thoughts that sit in fear, worry, scarcity, and doubt about our past, about our present, and about our future. Hence, the overthinking, overanalyzing, overcomplicating our past and our present and our future. And when our brain gets going, they sure get going, right? It doesn't take too long until we find ourselves all twisted and tangled in its web of messy thinking and not at all in the present moment, which ironically is where all of our power lies. Nope. Instead, we're just in our head, concerned about something that's already happened or about something that could happen. And then what most of us do in an attempt to get out of that heady, icky space is to ding, 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 think some more. Who knew? We try to solve our problems in our head. We try to push away the doubt in our head. We try to make sense of the fear in our head. And then when that never works, we end up feeling even more stressed, exhausted, scared, confused, and all the things. Our brains like to make everything so complicated, you guys. I was talking to one of my clients recently, and she told me that she didn't do what she wanted to do that week. And I said, why not? And she said, well, it's physically trapped under clutter. And I said, okay, just remove the clutter. And she said, you make it sound so easy. And then we both had a good laugh, because what if it really was that easy? The reason it wasn't that easy is because she was having a whole lot of mind drama about it. I'm worried about failing. It's too hard for me. I don't want to make mistakes. What's the point? Drama, drama, drama. So here's what I want to offer you today. What if it doesn't have to be that complicated? What if it doesn't have to be that complicated? It is our job to simply see our brains for what they are. Fear-based, melodramatic, overanalyzing, overcomplicating, overthinking roommates. We don't have to be surprised as to when our brains go to that place that they like to go to. Of course my brain is going to want to worry about this. If it's not this, it's the next thing. Of course my brain is going to want to feel scared about that. Yeah, it's literally hardwired in fear. Of course my brain is going to want to put limits on what is possible for me. Yeah, it still thinks I'm a hairy ape and it's trying to keep me safe in my cave so that I don't die. Of course my brain is listing off the next thing I have to have in order to feel good right now. Yeah, my brain hates the present moment because it knows that's where all my power is. That's what our brains do. It's like watching a toddler take a tantrum. We may not like it, but we're also not surprised by it because that's what toddlers do, right? So trying to always make sense of our thoughts all of the time, like they're not supposed to be there, is like trying to reason with a toddler when they're taking a tantrum. You know what I'm saying? Now, yes, it is important to monitor your brain and have the awareness of what's going on up there, 100%. Otherwise, by default, you let your brain run the show. Awareness is everything. But once you have that awareness, you have two options. To A, jump into its pool and let it consume you with all its default thoughts and let it run the show and buy into what it's saying. Or B, Simply see it for what it is and then choose differently on purpose. In other words, it's all about course correction, you guys. My human brain, just like yours, likes to tell me what to worry about and when to feel like I don't have enough and when I shouldn't be so certain about that thing that I want. Just this morning, my brain told me to be very worried about a video that I just created recently and that it was a bunch of garbage. It likes to do that. It's not that my brain doesn't, but I simply correct it. That's it. At the start of my day, I tell it, yo, brain, I know you have an agenda, but here's what we're actually going to think and feel today. And then I give it reminders periodically throughout the day. It doesn't have to be so complicated. I promise. It is our job to nurture our brain on a daily basis. It is our job to gently calm it down and to give it instructions. It is our job to remind it, I'm totally good, and here are all the reasons why. It is our job to remind it that there's nothing to worry about right now, that everything is actually not so bad. It's our job to remind it that by slowing down and not thinking so much, we're actually way more productive and powerful. It's our job to remind it that all its fears and doubts are just noise, simply noise and bullshit that's trying to block our internal wisdom and stop us from growing. It is our job to tell our brain how to behave. Intentional thoughts, awareness, gentle reminders. Doesn't have to be that complicated. Focus your mind on what feels good. And when you sway, that's okay. We're human. We don't have to make that mean anything. We just try again, course correct again, refocus. One of my biggest encouragements always is to slow your brain down and nurture it in the morning. By doing so, it allows you to get ahead of it before it runs away. Because when you allow it to get away from you, you wind up on this wild goose chase trying to rein it back in. It's honestly, like Abraham says, it's like jumping out of an airplane and then wanting a parachute. At that point, just hang on, it'll be over soon. Now, I can encourage you all day, every day to nurture your brain in the morning, but I can only lead a horse to water. I can't make it drink. You are responsible for finding ways to calm your brain down. What works for me may work for you. It may not. What works for you one day may not work for you the next day. It's simply about starting your day with a question, a desire. How can I start my day with grace and ease? What can I think to feel chill today, or whatever feeling you desire? Where can I focus my brain that feels good? It's just about gently, not frantically, leaning in and trying it out. Journaling is my number one go-to. I grab my journal and write intentional thoughts that I want to think. And I'll keep writing until one thought feels really good in my body, and I'll just start my day with that. Doesn't mean that that thought will create the same feeling tomorrow. In fact, it usually never does. That's okay. I just find another one. Super simple. You can sit quietly for a few minutes, intentionally thinking about what you appreciate, or think about what you're excited about and looking forward to. Or daydream for a few minutes, imagining yourself in a future moment until it clicks and it feels like you're actually experiencing it. Choose an uplifting song to listen to. There's, of course, meditation. There's doing something you enjoy doing, an activity that places you in the present moment, something fun and not all up in your head. Okay? You simply focus your mind on whatever feels good and then go about your day. If it feels complicated, it's because your thoughts about it are complicated. You get to decide if it's complicated. Okay, my friends, that is it for today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up right below. Leave a comment, say hello if you'd like, and I will see you next Wednesday. Bye.